Well, I appreciate everybody being here, especially on a snowy day here in Kalamazoo. A lot of snow on the ground, so I appreciate you making the trek out here. Great turnout, so thanks for that. Well, back-to-back #1 recruiting classes, we'll take it. That's one of the #1 goals, winning everything we do. And recruiting, there's no different. Everyone competes for the best players. Not the best players in terms of rankings, but the best players that fit your organization and your program, which I think we completely nailed. And 2 in a row is something to be said about this football program and where it's headed. And we'll continue to now look for a three-peat as we go into 2016, which we started and divided up. Our coaching staff changed a few recruiting areas right after signing day this morning in a staff meeting. And our eyes are already on 2016 recruiting. And that's just the way this program will be. Close the book on one chapter, open the book for another, open the book or the cover for a new book on 2016. So I will say this, it's like Christmas and New Year's put together. This is the official end in Western Michigan calendar of a football season. This is the official end. So 2015 really starts today, 2014 ends today. So it's like Christmas, but it's also like New Year's where we get a chance to start over. I want to thank Steve Shimko to start, our recruiting coordinator. Steve's actually going to move to our offensive GA position as we go. Last year, Tyler Scudder put together a top-rated recruiting class and headed over to be the linebacker coach at Duquesne. And then now Steve Shimko is going to move on the field and do some coaching as well. And so we will definitely have a replacement for him coming up very soon. But I want to give him a huge congratulations on putting together an elite class. I want to thank our entire staff. Jessica Larmy, our new director of football operations, did a tremendous job. And also just our whole staff in general. I mean, I talk all the time about having the best staff in America. I truly believe it. These guys worked endlessly and tirelessly through the entire season to put together another historic class here at Western Michigan. Very proud of what they've done, not for just the talent athletically, but the talent as people as well. And I think as I go through our class, you're definitely going to get a chance to see that. A few things to hit on in terms of statistics. You guys like to hear about statistics sometimes in terms of your recruiting classes. So I will say this. We had 62 total stars for all the star people out there. 14 3-stars, 1 4-star. 80% of our players are from our 6-hour radius. I think that's the jumping statistic to me. 80% of our players come from our 6-hour radius, and that's huge for the development of our program. And from when we took the job, that's exactly what we said we were going to do. In 3 years running, we've been right along that track, and we'll continue to do it. 15 players, including some of the preferred walk-ons, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, from the state of Michigan. Michigan continues to develop elite talent, and we want to be there to continue to recruit it, and we will make sure we continue to recruit it aggressively. Total GPA cumulative of these young men coming in is 3.36. We've got 33% of the class coming in at above a 3.5. These players are not only elite on the field, they're elite in the classroom, they're elite in their community, and we'll continue to challenge them here at Western Michigan as they come into our campus and join our football team. The best statistic, in my opinion, in terms of when you put these things together, we wanted winners. And when you're a winner, you're a leader. We had 23 team captains. That's astonishing. 23 team captains, 5 dream team members, 9 all-state selections, and 12 all-conference players. That's a lot. We want winners. When we bring leaders into this program, they already understand what leadership is. What we need to do is take that leadership to an elite level. And that's what we'll continue to do by bringing this type of talent into Western Michigan, not only as just athletes, but as people as well. And last, we had 3 state champions and 87 complete, total 87 playoff games. So these guys have played in the postseason. They understand what it takes to play in the postseason, and they've been in big games. Lastly, I know I said it before, the biggest statistic, but this one to me is what our program's all about. We had 18 multi-sport athlete signees. That's huge. We want players that continue to compete, not only in the classroom, on the competition field, but also in their personal life. But you're talking about 18 multi-sport athletes. That's a lot. And we want kids that want to continue to compete in different sports, challenge themselves, and I think we hit that out of the park as we go forward. So, again, I want to thank everybody for coming. Before I get into our staff, or before I get into our 2015 recruits, just want to say thanks again to our entire staff, our administration. Thanks for believing in this staff and this culture and what we said we were going to do. It's a lot of fun. Recruiting is a lifeline to this program. It is our bloodlines. It is the most important thing in this program. Not only recruiting our student athletes for our classes to bring in here, but also our own players right here at home. I want these players, and I've continued to say it, I want them to leave Western Michigan, and even while they're at Western Michigan, saying Western Michigan is the greatest university in the country. And I will say it really is. We've got a tremendous amount of support here. The community's catching on, and our 2015 schedule is absolutely awesome. So we'll get into that later to finish up. But with Michigan State, Ohio State, and Georgia Southern on the schedule, we've got our work cut out for us. And obviously today, we got to get going and bring this 2015 class along with getting them part of our strength program as well. So with that said, I do want to talk a little bit about our student athletes that are coming in. I'll start off by working with the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to talk about the quarterbacks first and foremost. John Wasink from Grand Rapids, Michigan, Grand Rapids South Christian High School. Here's a young man that's a true leader. The intangibles is what's special about him. But if you've ever seen him play, he's extremely athletic. You walk into a room, he's a little taller than me, kind of looks like Zach Terrell. But if you can picture Zach Terrell windmilling a basketball on a dunk twice during a game in the last few weeks, that's the type of athlete he is. Scored 31 points the other day on the court. Extremely competitive, loves to play any type of sport, and he is a true leader. Also, high academic kid. Talking about 4.0 student. He's going to bring that to Western Michigan. We're really happy to have him. He's a winner. He's been to 2 straight state championships, lost the first one in a close game, then obviously won it this year at Grand Rapids South Christian High School. Really happy to have John a part of our family. I thought Coach Shiraka and Coach McGargle did a tremendous job recruiting this young man. Fought off a lot of Ivy schools. And anytime you're a 4.0 student, you get a lot of Ivy attention. It's very hard to turn those schools down, especially when the Harvards and the Yales come in and they want to sit there and give you their presentation. That's hard to turn down because it's a really good presentation, but really happy that John stuck with us. Our next signee's actually already here on campus. This is Joe Flacco's brother, Tom Flacco. I told Tom, I said, sooner or later people are going to say, hey, that's Joe Flacco's brother, Tom. Eventually they're going to be able to do that, or that's Tom. So he's an incredible athlete. I think you're going to see a major difference between him and his brother, the Super Bowl MVP and Super Bowl champ. Tom's a lot shorter, but Tom is a phenomenal athlete. He was drafted in the 32nd round in baseball by the Philadelphia Phillies and chose football over baseball. And I'm telling you, with his work ethic and his personality and his drive, he probably could have played in the MLB for 12 to 14 years, but his heart is in football. And I'm glad that he decided to do that here at Western Michigan. He's already enrolled. He's already been working out. I tell you what, this kid is extremely fast. He's won a few of our sprints, and you know, so we have a lot of fast kids. Darius Phillips, Braverman, Corey Davis. He's out there in the front winning a few of them. This kid's extremely competitive, and I look forward to him competing for spot here in the fall. And he gives us the ability to have an athlete on the field. And I think that's one thing, as you look at what we're doing, I think that's one thing we're missing in terms of even at the quarterback position, being able to run some quarterback runs and do some things designated. So you might see him on the field this year. We'll see. He's got to come in and compete. But obviously, Zach Terrell's going to be a tough guy to beat out. But if one guy could do it, this guy would be the guy. But, played a state championship game, threw for a ton of yards, over 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns throughout his career. This kid's a winner. And obviously winning is in his bloodlines. Look at his brother, and family's extremely competitive. Really happy to have Tom part of our family here. Next, we'll shift to the running backs. We took 1 running back this year. I'm sure a lot of you wonder, why'd you only take 1 running back? Well, a kid by the name of Jarvion Franklin's in the backfield for the next few years. But we wanted to bring a young man in here that could compete with Jarvion Franklin from the minute he stepped foot on campus. And Davon Tucker is the one to do it. This kid was the New Jersey Offensive Running Back of the Year in 2014. Broke a bunch of records, ran for a lot of yards. He looks like he's 5'9", but he's about 208. But he's also a 10-600 meters young man. So he can fly, but he's big. He's not one of these little scat backs. This kid's a pounder. He's got great vision. He can run power. He can run inside zone. He's going to give Jarvion a run for his money. Not necessarily even a run for his money, but he's going to be able to, we'd love to have 2 backs this year, if that makes sense. We want to be able to rotate. There are a lot of hits put on Jarvion that we wanted to take off, but we wanted a kid that we felt could 100% guarantee us that he was going to be on that field. We feel Davon's one of those young men. He plays 4th place in the Meet of Champions for the 100-meter dash in the state of New Jersey. He had a lot of offers with Boston College, Syracuse, Rutgers. We're very, very blessed to have him. He's a wonderful young man. He will not say a lot, but he smiles a lot. So when you get around him, just be expecting that. Next, we'll shift to my favorite position. Not that I have any favorites, but the wide receiver position, in which we really recruited heavily. I'm not going to teach you anything you probably don't know right now, but the way we work recruiting, we look 2 years out. Okay, so whoever's a junior, we start to looking at replacing them now. So Corey Davis is a junior. Now, whether Corey Davis comes out as a junior, that's up to him. All right, I don't know what he'll do, but I do know this. We schedule him to be here 2 more years. We've got to replace the Corey Davises, the Daniel Bravermans in this class. So that's the way we think in our program. That's why we have 6 wide receivers here on the draft class and the recruiting class this year. So our first one we're going to talk about is Giovanni Ricci. A lot of size, 6'4", 205 pounds. The Italian Stallion's his nickname. He was one of the top 75 prospects in the state of Ohio. He's got a wonderful family. Dad owns a wonderful steakhouse in the state of Ohio. This kid is a 3-sport athlete, playing basketball, running track. He's a high hurdler, very athletic, attacks the football. We're really happy to have him. He gives us the outside threat that we want. He can run, he can jump, he can attack the football. And again, we wanted some more of those outside receivers. We feel okay with some of our inside slot guys, but we wanted to build depth on the outside. So he had a bunch of MAC offers and came to Western Michigan. Next is a young man by the name of Anton Curtis. And Anton's from Grosse Pointe, Michigan at East English Village Prep. This guy, if you can picture Corey Davis playing quarterback, that's the best example I can give you when you watch his high school film. Very smooth athlete, very fast. We really loved him live. The one thing I'll say about this whole recruiting class is we saw all these guys live. That was huge for us. Live evaluations are everything. I learned that from Jerry Kill, who's now at Minnesota. You got to see him live. And by year 2, you've got to be able to do that. By year 3, you've got to be able to master that and find creative ways to get him on campus and make sure that you see him at different camps that you go to as well. This young man was the 13th ranked receiver in the Midwest, one of the top young men coming out of the city of Detroit. A lot of BCS programs, or I should say Power 5 conferences now. Teams were coming after him late. A lot of them offered him late. Really proud of his loyalty. And that shows what kind of young man this Anton Curtis is. Very smooth, very athletic. He can play any position on the field. So safety, corner, wide out. Obviously, he's here at the wide receiver position, but he's got a rare combination of speed and athleticism that we're happy to have. Next is a young man by the name of Keyshawn Watson. Keyshawn is from the same high school as Corey Davis, Wheaton Warrenville South High School, coached by Ron Muhich. So hopefully some of that good luck with Corey Davis rubs off on this young man, Keyshawn Watson. One thing that sold us on Keyshawn was he came to camp. Blew up camp. Ran a 4.5 on our watch. Caught everything in sight. Extremely competitive. Extremely. Huge hands. Rangy, long arm, but he was extremely competitive. He went 7, 8 times in a row just so he could go against Sam Beal, who's one of the corners from Ottawa Hills that we signed, which you'll get a chance to hear about in a little bit. But they wanted to go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. They kept switching offense to defense, and we let them go until they dropped. So 7, 8 reps in a row. These young men continued to compete. That's what I want to see as a head football coach. I want to see the inside of a young man. That's what I want to see at camp. I got all the physical part. I got that part. I want to see what's inside of you. I know what's inside this young man. Averaged over 22 yards per catch, so he's a down-the-field threat. And these are just one of those camp stories. You come to camp, that's what happens. So really happy to have Keyshawn in our program. Next is Levante Bellamy. Levante Bellamy is one of the fastest kids, if not the fastest kid in the state of Indiana. He'll probably win the 100 meters this year in track. He's an all-purpose guy. Coach Hart and I went to go see him during the season, and he blew it up. Had over 200 yards rushing, finished runs, great vision. He's not the biggest guy. He's around 5'10", but he is very, very physical for his size. He can play in the slot. He can play running back. He is that scat back, but he's bigger, and he's more physical. He's ranked the #2 receiver in the state of Indiana, rushed for over 5,000 yards and 55 touchdowns throughout his career. And again, he had a lot of people offer him, a lot of the low-end Big Tens, some of the AACs. This young man he means a lot to us because this guy hung on strong. And this guy, I truly appreciate his loyalty. And he does have a personality. So when you want to get around one of the guys coming in for 2015 class, this young man's got a personality. He's a character. He's a lot funnier than I am. So you're going to get a chance to be around him. Next, another young man who's already on campus, Kadeem Goldborn. He's from Weston, Florida, from Cypress Bay High School. Here's a young man that actually, first of all, committed to SMU, had about 25 offers, SEC, ACC. We recruited him at the time, continued to recruit him even when he committed, ended up getting a gray shirt from SMU, and then some of the coaching things happened there, and then he opened up his recruiting. We got in on him, continued to recruit him throughout the process, never gave up on him, never stopped. That's one of those never give up, don't stop recruiting. Even if kids sometimes commit, all of a sudden, next thing you know, something happens, the kid comes to you. And that could be a one in a million story. He's our 1 in a million. Very long, 6'4", 205 pounds. One thing I've seen that I've been very impressed with him already is his work ethic. This young man can work. He's challenging Corey, he's challenging Braverman, challenging Darius, challenging Kendrick, challenging Carrington. These guys work and they push each other. You talk about a work ethic at the wide receiver position, these guys have it. And it's awesome when a guy just got here at semester comes in and starts busting his butt like that. He had over 1,500 yards receiving in high school, averaged 22 yards a catch, and really happy to have him here. But again, another outside threat. I could go through all the offers that he had. Not going to go through that. The next young man, a lot of you know if you come to practice, you've watched him on the scout team for an entire year, had to sit out a year because he wasn't eligible, so you consider him a gray shirt. When you look at him, he is a long, rangy young man. Carrington Thompson from Houston, Texas, a transfer from Northwood University. How about this one? Just walked up and said, I want to walk on. That's great recruiting by the head football coach. Knock on the door. Hey, coach, brought my family by. Just want to get some information about walking on. He's one of the guys you look up and down and say, come on in. I got some time for you. Come on in. Let me talk to you. And he is pretty. He's very athletic, very explosive. He was a scout team player of the year for our football team this year. If you've been to practice, you've all sat there and go, hey, who's that guy? And I kept telling you, look, I'm not even going to really talk about him because all he does is make me salivate, and he can't even play this year. So a lot of you got a chance to get around him. He was the Stake Award winner this past spring. But you get a chance to be around here. And Carrington Thompson's an explosive athlete, and he gives us that length. You know, we've got 4 guys in this class that are 6'1" and above, and we've got 3 guys that are 6'3" and above. So we wanted to get that height on the outside. Next, we'll switch gears. We'll call them the receiving tight ends, but we'll go to the tight ends. We did take 1 tight end. I think we have a lot of depth. If you've seen us play, we're an 11-personnel team. It is no secret. So there is 1 tight end on the field. Sometimes we put 2 or 3, depending if we're in a goal line situation. But we do have Eric Boyd, and we have Lucas Bezeja, Chris McDaniel, and now we're going to add Parker Underwood from Hazlet, Michigan, and he's from East Lansing here in the state of Michigan. You want to talk about an athlete and just a tough guy. This guy plays hockey, and again, he's 6'4", 240 pounds. You watch him on skates, him and his brother, it's incredible. Don't tell Andy Murray he plays hockey. He's going to see if he can probably play both. Kind of keep that away from Andy. But he's a 3-sport athlete. Incredible pitcher. Plays hockey. And again, just a tough guy that you want on tight end at the tight end position. Can block a 6 technique head up. With our outside zone power plays, you got to go one-on-one. And you got to be a part of a double team. So it's a glorified lineman. He's going to continue to get bigger. But this kid is something special, so really happy to have him. He's not one of those guys that caught 100 balls during the year. He was a guy that we actually had identified, loved what he did in the run game, and that was a no-brainer for us. And again, he had some offers throughout the MAC, and a lot of people came on him late, but he stayed strong and stayed with us, so really happy that he did that. Okay, now we'll move up to the Hogs, the offensive line. A young man who's already on campus from Kentwood, Michigan, from East Kentwood High School, John Kenoy. You know, it's interesting, when we recruited John, his mom and dad are both Central Michigan grads. And it was funny that Central plus Central obviously equals Western. And that's how we were able to get him. His parents were very supportive in the process, didn't hold Western Michigan against us, and obviously found the best place that fit their son, and we're happy about that. He's a top-ranked center in the state of Michigan, one of those 3-star guys. He was a first-team all-state selection. 2014 Detroit News All-State Dream Team selection as well, and he's already on campus. Already one of our strongest linemen. We wanted to go after strong, developed linemen now. You know, we didn't want 1 to 2 years of development. We wanted the strong and then get them stronger as they go. Sometimes in our conference we get the rebuilds, you know, the ones that some of the Big Ten schools don't offer, and they're 245 pounds. Then you hope they get to 285, 290. This guy's already 285, 290. But he is really working his tail end off, working probably harder than he's ever had in his entire life. But John Kenoy is a huge addition to our offensive line. Next, Luke Juriga, Marmion Academy, Aurora, Illinois. You come from some bloodlines, you know you're going to have some talent. And when you look at the bloodlines of him, his dad played 6 years in the National Football League. His dad was a Big Ten lineman. His mom was a Big Ten volleyball player. They both tower over me. So when you sit there and look at those two, you sit there and go, hey, we need to recruit their son. No matter what, even sight unseen, you'd like to recruit their son. He's a three-sport athlete. Watched him play basketball. He's going to throw the shot. This guy's just a tough, grinding lineman. He is just one of those guys that's extremely athletic. You watch him on the basketball court, how he moves, very fluid, looks like a tight end. How quick he can move his feet. Very aggressive, great pad level, can strike off the football, and he's just nasty. Just absolutely nasty. And he's one of the first players ever in his own conference in the Chicago Catholic League to be the Offensive Player of the Year. Talk about an offensive lineman being the Offensive Player of the Year. That says a lot about him, how tough he is, and also what the other coaches think about him and the respect they have for him. Very happy to have him. He's going to be a huge addition. And finally, on the offensive line to round out the Old Hogs, Wesley French. A lot of you got to know Wesley French. He is a nasty up-front individual. Guy that had some Big Ten offers, a lot of attention, wanted to go to a place where he thought he could really compete as a true freshman. Ranked the 10th best player in the state of Michigan. He was a captain, one of those team captain guys, Associated Press, first team All-State selection, and second best offensive lineman in the state of Michigan. Had a lot of offers. You talk about a guy with a ton of personality. He's charismatic. He's energetic. He wants to match my intensity every time he comes on campus, and he makes it very clear that he's going to. We enjoyed recruiting Wesley. It was a process. It was a fight. We had to fight our tail ends off for this one, but I think he made the best decision of his life by coming here, and I think when you talk to him, he's rowing the boat, and he's rowing the boat very hard. So we'll now switch gears to the defensive side of the football. This is where we felt like we really needed to improve. We lost two of our best players, Justin Curry and Donald Saliskar. Besides that, we got everybody back. But what we needed to be able to do, and you'll hear me talk about it later on, the number one thing in this whole recruiting class was depth and balance. Depth and balance. And when I have the recruiting sheet right in front of me, if you want to look at it, I'll let you look at it. I'll give you a rebuild culture, rebuild program lesson, if you'd like to hear that. There were 24 seniors that left our program when we first got here. After that, this next senior class, there's going to be 12. And then the first one after the 24 was around 8. Now there's going to be 12 this next year. Right? We want to make sure we can balance all that out, equal that out, because if you look at the next classes, the junior class now has 19, sophomore class 19, and then you look at the redshirt freshmen, the true freshmen, it's going to be 19 again. So you want to have that 19 to 20 vary throughout your program, have steady income, steady output, and that's what we want to be able to do as we continue to go forward. So that's part of the building process. So the two big things were depth. Remember, we were 14 scholarships short in 2014. Chance I was willing to take, and we had to take care of our players during the season. Didn't have to do some things, so we couldn't get injured. But you know what? It turned out okay, and the gamble paid off because now we're going to be finally at 85 scholarships for 2015. We will be a younger football team than we were last year, which is hard to believe. But I think we'll be more talented than we were last year. So it will be youthful, but we'll be more talented. So that's our talk for obviously the rebuilding part. But we needed depth and we needed balance. And I think we were able to accomplish that, especially the depth part. Now we're able to, especially at this position, almost platoon it. It's kind of like Kentucky basketball right now. Everyone wants to talk about what not to do. Platoon it. Well, it's the number one team in the country. They haven't lost yet, correct? Oh, they haven't lost yet, right? Okay. Just want to make sure I'm on my basketball. Coach Hawkins will be proud, right? But they're platooning it. They're sending something very unique, a certain message to college basketball. And one thing we want to be able to do is platoon our defensive line. Last year we couldn't do that. We had 5 guys that really rotated. Now we want to be able to get to 8. Defensive line is the hardest position to recruit because you got to hit on 8 guys. And you've got to have 8 guys in your program that you know can dominate a game. Because when you run the football, if you got a weak link, you know that ball is going to be ran to him all game. That's what we do. We strategize for that. You've got to have 8 guys, 2 deep, that make sure that you can stop the run and get pressure on the quarterback. As you can see, when you see this, we brought 5 guys in on the defensive line that we feel can really add to the youth we already have on the defensive line and really help us. So the first one to do that from Romeoville, Illinois, from Plainfield East High School is Daniel Jackson. He's a 6'3", 265-pound, 3 technique, nose guard, depending on how big he gets. Very twitch, very athletic, very quick. He was a IHSFA, a Class 7A All-State selection, and he was the Southwest Prairie Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Got hurt his junior year, so he didn't have a lot of offers. But we believed in his junior film, whether it was 12 clips, we said, this kid's a superstar. And then you meet him, he's hungry, he's passionate, and he's long. And he can really play play the game. And when you look at it, Cleveland Smith going to be leaving the program in a year. We wanted to make sure there was somebody right behind him to develop and learn from Cleveland and possibly rotate at that 3 technique. Our 3 technique has to have twitch. Can't just be a big guy. You've got to have twitch, and you've got to be able to handle some double teams. So really excited about Daniel Jackson coming into our family. The next guy I'll talk about, I've already talked about somewhat last year, but then he gets thrown back in the hat, is Ken Finley from Muskegon High School, Muskegon, Illinois. Had some academic issues, worked his tail end off, and he's here. And he has already sat out an entire year. He's not going to be able to enjoy or to join us until the season, but we're really excited about Ken because Richard Ash was brought in for one reason and one reason only, to take the place of Ken missing his first year. And I thought Richard Ash did a tremendous job. Now Ken can step in, and we're really excited for him to join our program when he does. It's been a long time, but he's really excited. He's handling everything he needs to do academically, and he's really changed. Talk about a tremendous person. This kid's been through a lot. And you talk about second chances, you talk about adversity. This is what college football is all about. And this kid's really going to shine. He's earned another opportunity, and I can't wait to see what he does. But he'll be one of our nose guards for us as well. Nose guards got to be able to handle that double team. They got to be able to handle not getting reached, so they got to be big enough and strong enough to handle a double team between the center and the guard, and then also not get reached by athletic centers. So again, the twitch, the size factor, a little bit bigger than our 3 technique, just so everybody starts to learn our defense as we go from there. Next guy, I don't have any favorites. I don't, but I might have favorite stories. This guy's got the best story out of all of them, and I really hope, and I said this morning, the guys who are in the room, I really hope a lot of you interview him, and I hope you make it a national story because it's awesome. It's awesome. It's going to make you feel like there's nothing bad in your life, nothing going on that you can't accomplish. From Macomb, Michigan, Dakota High School, Tony Balabani, our Albanian of the class. And I say that in complete respect because of where he's from and what he's gone through. And his dad, Luigi, and his mom, Lucinta. Basically, when you look at Tony, he was raised in camps during a war from Kosovo. And the stories and the pictures they have at their house and the ones they show you is when, hey, we were in this camp at this time, and they show their whole family. Their life being threatened at certain times, and Luigi explaining that to me, and threatening their kids' lives, and them continually go from camp to camp, country to country, city to city, to restart their life because they were getting flushed out. It's an incredible story. And this young man is Western Michigan football to a T. He's 6'3", he's 240 pounds, wrestles at 225, so I was never a wrestler, so I don't necessarily know how all those weight classes work, but dropping the weight. Put it this way, went to his wrestling meet the other day, pinned the first guy in 50 seconds. Dad looked over at me and goes, should have been 33. Should have been 33 seconds. I was like, geez, 50 wasn't good enough. Next guy, pins in 36 seconds. That guy wasn't as good. Should have been 20 seconds. Like, geez, this is my type of guy. But that's the kind of guy he is. He's tough. He's nasty. He came to camp. He's a pass rusher. He's a guy that took 8 reps. Again, I'm one of those guys in a row. So you come to camp, I'm going to put you in how many reps in a row. I'm going to watch how you handle adversity. I'm going to see if you quit. I'm going to see if you stop. I want to see on the 5th rep of a drive, can you still beat that guy? This guy's that guy. He continued 8 reps in a row and still beat the tackle, whoever he faced. Went 8 for 8, 8 for 8. I'd never seen it and wanted more. He was making me tired by just watching him. This kid's a no-brainer for our program. Couldn't be more excited for Tony and his family. Incredible story. This is what college football is all about. The stories behind our student athletes. He's a wonderful student, and boy, he's going to really help rush the passer. So these next guys are all about the outside. He's a rush end for us, and in our system, you got to put pressure on the quarterback. We went from worst in sacks to first in sacks. But when we went back and looked at it as a coaching staff, we were 0.3 too slow. We could have had 10 more sacks if we were 0.3 seconds faster to the quarterback. Well, that's why we got more rush ends that are a lot more explosive. They might not be the 6'5 guy, but they're explosive at 6'2", 6'3". They use their leverage to their advantage, and that's what we had to be able to do. Next guy from Silver Spring, Maryland, from St. John's College Prep High School, Eric Asawa. Him and Leo Okwogi are really close friends. He's a top-ranked defensive end in the District of Columbia. This guy is explosive, extremely explosive. Bill Kenny did a tremendous job continuing a relationship with this young man. Again, getting pressure on the quarterback's the number one thing we want to be able to do. And he was 2014 Washington Post first team all Met selection. This kid is a special human being. And he has a great story, too. I'm not going to sit there and tell that one, but he's got a great story with his whole family. And I think that's what this program's all about. It's about the people, not necessarily the athlete, but the stories behind them. Lastly, at the defensive end position, a kid from Westchester, Ohio, Lakota West High School, Dante Horton. Now here's your size. He's 6'4", it says 205. He's already gained 20, 25 pounds. So he's about 6'4", 225. Looks a little bit like Andre Turner. Very explosive. His brother Michael is one of the running backs at Kentucky, very high-ranked recruit. Now he's at Kentucky, so this is his brother. We had to fend off a lot of people at the end, that's for sure, with this young man. He's got a lot of size, got a lot of twitch, got a lot of speed, but we should be able to get some more pressure on the quarterback. Coach Reynolds now has kind of a stable of horses at that defensive line. We just got to be able to get those freshmen to be able to become mature really fast and really quickly. Now, let's move to our linebacker position. We took 2 linebackers. I feel like our linebackers going into 2015 is our least deep, but it's our best position probably on the field. When you talk about guys like Robert Spillane coming back, talk about Austin Lewis, talk about Jakeevan Jackson, talk about Jason Silva, Grant DePalma, and then you throw these 2 guys in there. Now, you might not have 12 linebackers or 11 like you'd like, but you got 9, and you got 9 that you would go anywhere in the country with at any time, rain or shine, night or day. They're going to be your road dogs. These guys are awesome. So these are the guys joining them from Detroit, Michigan, Loyola High School. Vince Reynolds did a tremendous job recruiting the city of Detroit like he always does, signing 6 players. This is one of them, Paul Ingram. Paul Ingram actually grew up right next to one of Coach Reynolds' best friends. And it's kind of unique going by and going through with Coach Reynolds to the city of Detroit. You learn a lot about the city of Detroit going with Coach Reynolds because that's where he's from. And you learn a lot about the players there. And Paul Ingram's a great story. He's one of those guys I think in the class is probably the most instinctual player that we have. And he is a thumper. He's about the size of Devin Brand, if that makes sense to all of you, if a lot of you that know Devin who just left the program. But Paul Ingram is that size. He is a thumper. He will come after you. He was in the championship game as well. And, they were Class 7 state champion. This kid is a thumper. He's strong. He's physical. And he loves the game of football. You talk about loving it. This kid truly loves it. So really happy to have Paul. Next guy, I think a lot of you know who he is. From Saginaw, Michigan, Swan Valley, Alex Grace. I said this earlier this morning, and I truly mean it. No offense to anybody else. Just talking what I believe in the game that I was at. Alex Grace's game that I was at, he rushed for 280 yards, had 4 touchdowns, and it was probably the single best performance I've ever seen a high school player have, period. And it wasn't that he had the stats. It was how he did it. This program's about the how he did it. He understood situations. He understood 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. He understood when he had to fight for a yard. And you know what? The kid had a smile on his face the whole time. He was thudding heads. He'd fight for the extra yard. He was physical. He wasn't running out of bounds. He was inspiring his teammates. He was picking up his teammates, driving his teammates, leading his teammates. He was fun to watch. This is an ultimate football player. And to be honest with you, I didn't know if we were able to keep him. I was really worried about some other schools in state who just got a new coach. I was worried about them coming after this guy because I think he's that talented. I really believe that because he's got a huge heart and he wants to be elite. This guy was everything. I mean, we could talk 2013, 2014, Saginaw News Player of the Year. He was up for finalist for the Michigan Player of the Year. In my opinion, I think he is. Just for all the things he was able to accomplish. And, his team didn't have 15, all-staters and 15 signees. This guy really inspired his team. He'd be the Heisman of the high school in the state of Michigan, in my opinion, because he made his entire team better. He's got a wonderful family. He's got a great support system. I still remember the day he committed. I was so excited, and we're really happy to have Alex Grace and his family a part of our family. Lastly, I'll move into the secondary. This is where we really needed to stockpile. Donald Salisgar is one of the ultimate corners and one of the best corners ever to play at Western Michigan. We're going to desperately miss him. And Justin Curry's one of the best safeties ever to play here. We're going to miss him too. So we've got to be able to stockpile and hit on a lot of DBs. So we had to get a mixture of corners and we had to get a mixture of safeties. This first guy can play corner or safety. Can't tell you where he's going to play first. Brother Drew Tranquil plays at Notre Dame. Justin is, I think, just as good. Maybe not as big, but just as good. This kid can flat out fly. Picture Braverman, but another 1.5 inches taller. Very physical, very smooth. You talk about a wonderful family. He's a very spiritual kid. He's got a great core values, great moral system. He was the second-ranked safety in the state of Indiana. Going into his senior year, tore his ACL. Had a ton of Big Ten offers, was going to get a ton of ACC, going to get a lot of things coming his way. Well, then a lot of people fell off on him. I don't believe an injury should really stop a kid from ever contributing. That's just part of the game. That's not an excuse. That's part of the game. That kid, what he has to bring is still inside of him, and that's what we truly want with Justin Tranquil. So when you talk about intangibles, talk about leadership, this guy's that. Some people talk, he's one of the highest-ranked recruits in this Mid-American Conference history. Great. We're going to find out how elite of a player he is come the fall and the next 4 or 5 years. So we're really excited about him. He's from Huntertown, Indiana, and from Carroll High School. Couldn't be more happy to have a guy from Carroll High School in our program, and this kid's really special. So we're excited. Devontae Ginwright, Southfield, Michigan, Southfield High School, long. He's a hitter. He's 195 pounds. He's got the range. He can cover. He can also hit you. You know, with our safeties, we play a lot of man coverage. You got to be able to cover man, but you've also got to be down in the box for run support and stop the run. We feel like Ginwright can do both. This guy had over 100 tackles throughout his high school career. He played receiver, corner, safety. He can do it all. Really happy to have him, and he makes our secondary stronger. One of the faster kids that we're bringing in, Obi Jackson from West Bloomfield, Michigan, West Bloomfield High School. This guy can flat out fly. And to play corner in our system, you got to be able to run. If you can run at corner, you can make up for a lot of mistakes. If you fall down, you get beat, all you got to do is run as fast as you can and press the hip, you got a shot. But if you can't run, you're going to have a hard time playing corner with some of the receivers we face in our conference, especially the ones we have. He was named Mr. Explosive in the state of Michigan, won the Best Defensive Back Award at numerous camps, ran a 10,600 meters, so this guy can really fly. Got to put some weight on him. We're going to have to be able to do that. Not only can he run, but he is a physical corner, which a lot of you know. You've got to be able to be physical to play in our system as well. One of our next corners, really long and rangy guy from Grand Rapids, Michigan area, Ottawa Hills High School, Sam Beal. This guy, I was really surprised that, I can't say surprised, but that more people really didn't come in on him. And well, very thankful they didn't. But when you watch his film, he is an absolute freak. This kid's 6'2", 195 pounds. He can run, he can jump, he can cover. He came to camp as well. He's the kid that I told you about that competed against Keyshawn Watson, earned a scholarship, and he didn't have any at the time. Same with Keyshawn. Didn't have any at the time. I'm not afraid to offer anybody who doesn't have scholarships if I think you're elite enough, and our staff feels that way. This guy was a home run. So we want to be able to get that length. You know, we've got Ian Thomas, who's in our program now, who was a transfer from Rutgers. I recruited him at Rutgers. He'll be one of our corners as well. He's not necessarily part of this class. He's a transfer. He's ready to go this year. He had a sit-out last year as well. And then you look at, obviously, Ronald Zamort and Tyree Stone-Davis, and now we're building depth with the corners we're bringing in. But this kid placed third in the 100 meters and 200 meters at the Division II state championships. Hopefully he can go out there and win them this year. And, again, just a camp kid that came out and balled out. And camp is that important. Next, Justin the Jet Spencer. When you have a nickname Jet, got to be able to run. And he got that on the playground when he was 4 or 5 years old, being the fastest kid on the playground that young. And, again, another young man from Florida. We're going to continue to recruit the state of Florida. We're going to continue to recruit the Maryland, D.C. area, the New Jersey area, the Pennsylvania area. But, again, continue to keep things in our 6-hour radius. But Jet was a hands-down no-brainer for us, and we're really happy that Jet stayed with us. He's a 40-ranked cornerback in the state of Florida, which says a lot in terms of how many Division I players come out of just 4 counties alone, around about 170 from 4 counties down in the Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, St. Lucie County down there, about 170. Not even talking about the whole state. So he's from the Orlando area. Really happy to have him. And this kid can flat out cover, and he can really fly. So I do want to mention a few young men first. I do want to talk a little bit about some guys that are going to be joining our program that have preferred walk-on status, that really want to come into our program. And that's one thing our staff did a tremendous job of this year, was recruiting walk-ons. And I think we did a great job this year. You're going to be able to see that. Taylor Rayum from Swan Valley, Alex Grace's teammate. You're watching Alex Grace, and then all of a sudden you go, hey, who's that guy? And that was Taylor. He can really hit you. He can really run. He can thump you. He's a true Mike linebacker. Tough, tough, tough young man. And the big thing about him, he was second-team academic all-state. So you talk about a really smart player, especially at our linebacker position, the middle linebacker position. You've got to be smart. Next, we wanted to have a walk-on kicker, and we got one. We got the #1 guy on our board in terms of what we wanted to be able to have happen from Coldwater, Michigan. Blaze Watson Coach Wanger did a tremendous job of recruiting this young man. He can really kick. He can really kick off. We've got to continue to build depth at the kicking position and continue to make sure we just don't miss some things. We've got to make sure that we hit them all and get the ball out of the end zone on our kickoffs. But this kid's a four-sport athlete. You're not even talking three sports, you're talking four sports. You're talking football, soccer, basketball, and track. So really happy to have Blaze and his family part of our family. Next, Stephen Dennis from Lombard, Illinois, Montini High School. I know Coach Andriano from a long time ago from playing against him when I was at Canelan High School in Illinois. Has always produced state champions, has always produced champions coming out of his program. And Stephen Dennis is very ironic. His mother's on the Channel 5 News in Chicago, and it was really nice to be able to get to meet her. Allison Rosati, I grew up watching her and on Channel 5, so that was neat to get a chance to meet her as well. But really happy to have him. He came to camp and absolutely killed it. And not everybody can get a scholarship, but this young man has a chance in our program to earn one. And then our last preferred walk-on from Detroit, Michigan, Mumford High School, Deshaun Foster. We were this close from offering this young man in camp. We were that close, and we just didn't have any room, and I felt like we weren't going to have any room towards the end. And I thought for sure he'd have Division I offers. He didn't. Here he comes, an opportunity to earn one when he gets here. This kid can really play. He's a safety, might even grow into an outside linebacker, but he really is a special talent, a special human being, and really, really happy to have him. And that rounds out our class. In closing, I just want to say that it's been a wonderful year. We've already started in 2016, believe it or not, this morning, but it's been a wonderful year. It really has. From going from 1-11 to 8-5, from building this program, it's been a lot of fun, and the building continues. We are not stopping. If anything, we're going to go faster, harder, and higher. That's the vision of this program. That's the expectations and the demand of this program is to change your best and keep rowing the boat. The boat never stops rowing, period. No matter wherever we get to, we're just going to keep rowing, keep our oars in the water. Again, we wanted to handle the depth. We wanted to handle the balance. And we said from the start, when we first got here, we wanted to put together a #1 recruiting class. We did that. Then year 2, we said, okay, it takes 2, back-to-back to do it. And we were able to do that. So our motto last year was it takes 2. Now we got to look at a 3-peat and start to become the Chicago Bulls. But I'm really happy about this class. With that, I'll answer any questions that any of you have about our class, about the numbers or whatever we're doing later on. I can only comment on guys that have their deposit in and are preferred walk-ons, or guys that have signed our NLI and guys that are here. So with that, I'll open up for some questions.
You said Michigan is one of the best states for developing football players. You have 12 scholarship guys, total of 15. What led you to that number this year specifically?
Well, you never sit there and say, hey, we want to take 12 out of this state. You recruit the state, then you compare the state to other states. Obviously, us being in Michigan, it's resourceful, and we have a lot of ties to the coaches in the state of Michigan. And I think our coaching staff, they all recruit a section of Michigan, which is very different. We divide Michigan into 8 pieces and sit there and say, hey, let's go ahead and recruit it. We hit every school as much as we possibly can, with players or no players. We want to continue to build those relationships. I think it's an elite state for talent. I think it's one of the top 10 states for talent in the country, and we'll continue to recruit it. I think we have a great niche, we have a great balance, and our coaching staffs know a lot about it. And when you know a lot about it, you hit it even harder. Same with Illinois and Michigan for us. We probably hit the most just because that's the familiarity of who we are, and it's within our 6-hour radius, and the core values fit who we are.
Coach, you talked about having a relationship with high school coaches throughout the state. Talk about East Kentwood and Tony Kimbrough. He was part of our last Mid-American Championship team back in the days. And him at East Kentwood. Are there others that your former Broncos and players and stuff that you're able to reach out to help with the process?
Well, I think that, yeah, I think one thing about high school coaches, they're always proud where they went to school, but they're also for their kid and whatever the best fit is. If Western Michigan's not the best fit for their student athlete, they're obviously not going to push that kid to here just because they came here. They're very proud alums. As we travel the state of Michigan, guys like Coach Kimbrough are very, very proud of not only the past of this program or the present, but where the program's headed by the direction and the leadership of Kathy Beauregard and our administration and what they've done and to help change our program. I think they're very proud. Coach Kimbrough definitely lets me know how long it's been since we've won a championship. He reminds me of that every time I see him, so I'm always reminded. But if we continue to take his kids and continue to have them here, we got a great opportunity.
Talk about Alex Grace and the kid from Indianapolis. Both of them made their mark in high school as running backs. We really only took one running back. Is it difficult to recruit a kid for a different position when they made their mark at one position?
I think the two things we look at linebacker: can you run, and are you physical? If you're a running back, you probably can run, and we find out if you're physical. Are you a physical runner or not? So I think that's one of the easiest transitions when you're evaluating talent is the running back, linebacker position, because running back takes a lot of instinct. You've got to see things. You've got to diagnose. You've got to feel. That's what you have to do at linebacker. So running back and linebacker go hand in hand. Now, if we ever needed a dire situation, we got a Robert Spillane who's taken handoffs before. We've got Alex Graces who's taken handoffs before. We've got Levante Bellamy who's taken handoffs before. We've got Justin Tranquil who's taken handoffs before. So you build athletes, and you take athletes and say, okay, they can play these positions, but they're guaranteed to play this one. I don't know if Alex Grace will be Dick Butkus one day, but you know what? I know he's got a heck of a shot because he's physical and he can run. And you look at Austin Lewis, who I think is one of the most talented linebackers, got hurt last year, but he's going to be a redshirt freshman here. He can really run. His instincts are there, but he was a wide receiver in high school. So you do what you have to do. You look at the size, you look at the body frame, and then you look at the film. I mean, where do they fit? How tough are they?
Coach, I think signing day has obviously changed a lot over the years.
You're right.
But yeah, going back to your signing day, it's a life-changing event for all these kids. So do you use that in the whole recruiting process in your own recruitment of these guys, just what you went through?
I think you have to. I think that's what makes our staff very unique. I mean, a guy that can be recruited by Mike Hart and hear about Mike Hart's past and how he did it. And then a guy being recruited by Matt Simon, who played in the NFL as well. Here's my experience with it. You look at a guy like a Tim McGarl, the all-time leading tackler in NCAA history, an all Big Ten player. Here was my recruitment process. And they all were different. McGargle was 0 stars, Simon was 0 stars, I was 0 stars, Mike Hart was a lot of stars. And you kind of go through all that, and you have a plethora of stories. And you share that throughout the whole year with those recruits, and then they sit there and now they have resources. They can go to you. They trust you. They believe that you've been through a lot, and they don't feel scared to ask you a question. And I think that's what we've done very well. Signing day has changed a lot since mine. There was about 4 people in the library when I signed, and I had to hurry up and get to class, and no one really cared. They just said, "Where are you going to school? You did what today? What's that?" It's really changed. But I think just like our society, the media's changed that. We've really gone out there and done some really neat things to expose young men. I think it also helps their development, though. You give a young man a chance to get out in front of the nation and speak, public speaking, talking to people, making tough decisions at such an early age in front of a lot of people, a lot of pressure. That's tough for young people. And we provide that for them now. And it's only going to get, whether you want to say worse or better, it's only going to continue to grow.
Coach, at the top of the press conference, you said these might not be the 25 most talented kids out there, but they were the 25 that fit our needs and our program and what we're doing here. I know what you're talking about because I've been around you long enough. But can you expand on that a little bit? What makes them Broncos?
Well, their how makes them Broncos. And before we start our evaluation process, we look at 3 things. Look at the necktie mentality of a player, Prefontaine pace of a player, and the Farmers Alliance of a player. And we look at those 3 things. So we look at, does he attack? Is he attacking everything he does? Is he a kid that always wants more, willing to challenge himself on a daily basis? We rank that. Beyond talent, in terms of athletically, Prefontaine pace, is he lazy? If he's lazy, he goes in the trash can. If he's urgent in everything he does, walks with his chest up, he's proud, he's confident, he walks urgently, he has a purpose, he gets a ranking. And then you look at the last part, the Farmers Alliance. Can we trust that young man? Can we trust him? And there's a lot of guys, when they get a high score in all 3, no-brainer, let's look at the film. Some guys are 2 out of 3. Then you ask yourself, can you develop that last one? 1 out of 3, probably not going to work. 2 out of 3, we can work with you. We'll see. Let's look at your film first. Let's see where you're at. Let's watch your film to see if those things get exposed on film. This program's all about the how. This program's measured by the inside of a person, not the outside. You can't all be PJ Fleck or Mike Hart. You can't put a Mike Hart on the offensive line, you're going to get killed. Can't put me at the quarterback position. I'm not a very good thrower. Right? But you got to look at the inside of a young man, and when you start looking at the families of our young men that come into our program in the last few years, and then you start to look at the type of player, you're starting to see a lot of similarities. Austin Lewis and Robert Spillane are, I mean, if they have scabs, they pick them and they're blood brothers. I mean, they do them, they're like, you can't separate them. They always have their arm around each other. They're always everywhere together. They're like the Bash brothers. They really are. The Blues brothers, whatever you want. They never, you know, Bam Bam Bigelow and his partner. You know, the Legion of Doom, whatever you want to call them, they are right next to each other. But that's what's cool about it, because they are almost the identical person. You throw Alex Grace in that mix, Jason Silva, they're all the same guy. But they all have the same internal drive. And that's what I think makes our program a little bit different, because you can't be elite in one area of your life and not elite in the other area. And the guys we're recruiting, we feel, have the potential or are already at an elite level to be elite in all areas.
Coach, you're bringing in two quarterbacks that are a little bit different style than what you have here, and that they're more mobile, athletic than Zach Sherrill, Chance Stewart. What's your vision for the quarterback position in this offense?
Well, I think we're going to play the best player. One thing about, I think people have a misperception of quarterbacks at times is they think the quarterback completely changes an offense in terms of what kind of athlete he is. You know what? In our opinion, our offense is our offense. We might not run some plays because of the quarterback we have, but other than that, we don't change our terminology. We don't have, you know, there's quarterback power in our offense right now. We just decide not to run it as much with Zach Terrell. But we're going to take the best quarterbacks we feel that can win us ball games and truly lead our football program. They happen to run. All two of these guys can throw the football. That's the number one thing. Are you accurate? And are you a competitor? Are you a leader? Do you have those intangibles? Yes. Then you sit there and you're not going to hold it against the kid and say, we're only taking pocket passers who can't run. If you take a pocket passer that can really run, you got a home run. If your kid can throw but he can also run, you got a home run. So the way you want to kind of look at it is maybe a little different than the way I look at it, is we're going to take the best guys that we know the most about. But when you do look at it, they both can run. They can make plays when things break down. But when you look at Zach Terrell last year, things broke down. He's smart enough. Might not be as fast as everyone else, but he's smart enough to get out of trouble, know where the trouble's coming from, and then go make a play. Now, his play might only be 15 yards instead of 80 to finish it, but he still made the play. And I think that's what you were looking for. Smarter players, a better player. And I think these two guys not only bring the athleticism and the accuracy with their throwing, but they also bring that leadership role.
Like you said, we'll see how easy it really is when he gets here, but getting one of the guys who's one of the highest rated recruits in MAC history, what can that do as you continue to try to sell the program going forward?
Well, I think it just shows you can come here, and a lot of people are coming here despite a lot of Power 5 offers. You can come here and have an elite education, a top 100 public institution education, or you can be in one of the best towns in America with 200,000 people in a 5-mile radius, and you can make a difference now. Not only on the football field, but you've got a staff and you've got a leader, and you've got Kathy Beauregard as a leader who believes in the community being just as involved as our players, and our players being just as involved as the community, that it goes hand in hand. And that was my vision when I first took the job, was we've got to tie everybody together, which is hard to do. That takes a while. But these kids have an opportunity to affect way more lives, in my opinion, because of the personal touch they're going to get every day by not only just the inside works of our program, but the outside part. And it goes beyond football. And they really have a personal relationship with their head football coach, with their staff. I'm their dad. Our coaching staff's their uncles. We have a lot of fun together. We work our tail ends off together. But, you know, people want to call me a player's coach. I don't know if I'm a player's coach, because I'm very difficult to play for. I've said that to every one of our recruits. I am not easy to play for, period. But if you want to consider me a player's coach, because this program's all about the players, period. There isn't one decision I ever make that I don't think about our players first. And everything we do about and in our program is for those kids, for those young men's lives now and 40 years from now. That's how this program's ran. And that's why I think we're different than 99% of the schools in America.
Coach, I'm a big fan of Blindside, Michael Orr, and
Me too.
Yeah, and I remember Nick Saban and some other coaches going in, and I can understand, I can almost picture you going and talking and sitting in front of a mother and some kid that you're recruiting.
I'm going to sit down and recruit you one day, Al.
Yeah, I think my ship sailed, Coach, but
Just playing wise, acting.
At any rate, I guess my question is, you said that we're different than 99% of the other institutions, and I just don't see I mean, I believe you. I totally believe you. But the difference, you seem to just have an edge over the other coaches. And I'm just trying to decide, is it just your energy or your enthusiasm or your true, sincere belief in what you're doing?
Well, we were humbled last week to have Sports Illustrated with us, and they asked me the same question. And Pete Thamel from Sports Illustrated asked me the same question. And I said there's no secret. There's no secret sauce. Any coach in America will tell you there's no secret sauce. Every coach in America also, like someone else would answer the 99% question, every other coach in America thinks their programs run the right way. So the 99%, I believe our programs run differently than everyone else's. Well, so does Matt Campbell at Toledo, and so does Gary Patterson at TCU. They all believe they run it differently too. But there's so much belief in our program by the people who lead it. From our administration, from Kathy Beauregard to our president John Dunn to our board of trustees to the head football coach to our staff, there's so much belief in the vision that it's hard not to see it. And the energy produced by us on a daily basis to not only change our football program, but change everyone's lives who come in contact with us, that's different. That's different. And I always tell people there's no secret. We're just us. I'm me. I'm real. A lot of you know a lot about me. You see me every day. I talk to you. You call me on the phone. You'll see my kids running through the hallways. You'll talk to my kids. You'll pick them up. I want that. I want that part. And we're just us. We're real. And I think, I'm not saying no one else isn't real, but what I'm saying is all I can handle and control is us. And that's the only thing that matters to me. We don't talk about other programs. We only focus on us. We do it our way, and I feel our way is the right way. Whether anybody else believes that or agrees with that, that's their opinion. But that's why I say how I feel we're different than everybody else. I think everyone else would say that about their own programs too.